That's a big ass fish. That's a monster, Mike. Good job.
And that's why we're obviously outdoorsmen. And good morning, everybody. I am Mike with Obviously Outdoorsmen. Welcome to First Light Talk number 31. And if you guys are new to the First Light Talks and the Obviously Outdoorsmen podcast, please follow us, subscribe to us, and just share any of these First Light Talks that you find interesting with absolutely anyone. All right, your brother, your mother, your father, your friends. All right, no matter who it may be, just share this First Light Talk if you guys have found it informative. All right, but this is the Obviously Outdoorsman podcast, and you can find us on YouTube or the audio platforms all alone at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of those as well. But the video form will be on YouTube. But we like to start these things out with current news articles, and today's current news article: Michigan's shortest fishing season lasts less than just 40 minutes. All right, the Black Lake sturgeon fishing season lasted a whopping 36 minutes this year. This is due to the quota that is in place where only 6 sturgeon are allowed to be caught. And the season was scheduled for February 5th through February 9th, or until the quota was filled, and hence why the season only lasted 40 minutes this year. There were 565 registered anglers and only 6 tags to go around. Of the 6 fish, 5 were male and 1 was female. All 6 fish were previously captured and tagged multiple times over the past 18 years during spawning runs and different times where they tried getting information on these fish just to notify and find out how big they were growing and how the population was doing. All right, these fish were all captured at previous times over the past 18 years. What's really interesting to me is that to notify everyone when the season was over and when to stop fishing, they just texted everyone all at once, and they went out to each ice shack to notify them. So I guess it's like understood that this season is not going to last a day, so everyone's just on standby. And of the 565 anglers, they just really sent out a mass text, and I guess to all the old timers that really don't have cell phones, they just went out there and just told everyone, hey, the season's done. 6 were caught within 40 minutes. We're done here. And this is just all through research and the universities just trying to do the tagging information and just finding out how big they're growing, the population, and just trying to keep these species alive and thriving, and just a lot of research going behind it. So I thought that was a pretty interesting article today, being that I've never heard of a fishing season lasting only 40 minutes of my lifetime, but I guess in certain species, it happens that way. But today's topic: find sheds with the help of snow. All right, it seems like a lot of you guys are liking these shed hunting podcasts and these shed hunting videos. I guess a lot of you are struggling to find sheds. So I'm going to be putting out a bunch of videos and podcasts on shed hunting to try and help you guys out and find more sheds. All right, but today's topic: find more sheds with the help of snow. If you missed yesterday's podcast, I talked about how to learn from snowfall and implement your learnings to help you in actual hunting when the snow isn't there. And that would be First Light Talk number 30. You can find that. Just go to the podcast before this. And today we're going to talk about how snow can actually help you find sheds. And there are 3 scenarios when it comes to deer shedding their antlers and snowfall. First would be deer did not shed yet and it snows. Second would be deer have already shedded and the snowfall covers their antlers. And thirdly, there is already snow on the ground and the deer begin to shed on top of the snow. So here's how you can actually utilize snow to find sheds. With scenario 1, where deer haven't shed yet and there's fresh snow, right? This is a perfect scenario for you to learn all of the deer's habits. So you can go out when they actually do shed, when all the snow melts, and actually pack out a bag full of bone. So ideally, it's at least 5 inches of snow, and it sticks around for at least a week. This way, there's enough time for the deer to leave their imprint of their daily routines, and there's 3 things you need to look for when you're scouting the woods while they're still holding their headgear. Being their primary concerns in the winter months are just replenishing their nutrients and staying warm this time of year. You're looking for their bedding and feeding areas and the trails that connect them. So everything I went over in the last podcast, if you guys are daily listeners, it's going to be basically the same things, but use it for shed hunting instead. If you guys missed that podcast, I'll go over them again. So you just want to hop on a heavy trail, because once that snow has been down for at least 3, 4, 5 days, right, that's when these highways in the snow of their patterns are going to start really being defined. Right, you want to hop on a heavy trail and take their heavy trails to their bedding and their feeding areas, being that they're really only going to have like primary spots they're going to do this in. And in my opinion, the best way to log that information in your mind, because with me, I go through so many spots and just so many areas and so much ground every year, all right, the best way to log that information is through a hunting app, whether it be Onyx or HuntStand. I think they're the best 2 hunting apps there are. And you just go out there, you hop on a heavy trail, and then you just mark it in HuntStand or Onyx. You just drop a pin of exactly where you are. So just hit your current location and zoom all the way in, and just leave trail pins of everywhere the heavy trail is. And if you see a trail splitting off, just mark a split off on the trail going left, and then just keep going down that, or mark it on the right and come back to it, whatever it may be. But mark the trail as you're walking through the woods. And then once you come across a couple of bedding areas, because these trails will lead you right to them, once you come across the bedding area, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 7 beds, you just mark bedding area in your Onyx or HuntStand app. And then just if you keep walking, you keep walking. And at this time of year, remember, we're basically talking about deer that are still holding their headgear. Like 99% of them are still holding. So you're just doing like the prime scouting at this point. So you find their bedding area, you mark that. You keep going, you find their feeding area, you mark that. And just find a whole bunch of bedding and feeding areas. If you come across some rubs and just older rubs from the rut, you can mark that as well and use that for next season once it's the rut again. But you're just gaining a whole bunch of intelligence for when they do end up shedding their antlers. You can go back into one of these hunting apps and basically just walk the woods and say, okay, the snow's gone, but I still have their highway imprints of their daily habits because of the app. And just watch your app and just walk in the woods. Say, okay, the heavy trail is right here. And you walk their heavy trails, and then, okay, the bedding area is right here. You check their bedding areas. Because once the snow's gone, it's harder to find out where their heavy trails, where their bedding, where their feeding areas is. You can still find them, it's just a little bit harder to do. So at least once you did all that information and homework in the snow, it's going to be easy once you go back in there and the snow's gone and they shedded their antlers. You know exactly where to look. And if all them spots come up empty, if you mark them side trails and them side bedding areas, maybe just the loner bed that you found, right? Maybe you check that, and maybe that was their big buck trail or that big buck bedding area away from the group. It's pretty easy when you think about it. Just go out there, mark everything, come back when the snow's gone. That way you still have a layout of their daily habits. All right, the second scenario would be deer have already shedded and the snowfall covers the antlers. This one's kind of tough because when you go out there when the snow is already on the ground, or when the antler's on the ground, then you know you're going to be going out there and you're going to be walking over sheds essentially if there's enough snow. Whether it's 6-7 inches or more, you're going to be just walking past sheds. So if you know it's like late shed season, 90% of the deer have shed and it snows, you're basically going to want to just wait off on getting out there. That way you can use your time wisely to actually get out there. But if it's only 1 or 2 inches of snow, that's a different story. I like to hit the woods when it's 1 inch of snow, very, very minimal amounts. Maybe the snow's melting away. That way I can still see all of their super impacted trails, their bedding, their feeding, but the sheds that are there are still going to be sticking out of the snow as long as they're tines up or a bigger shed that's tines down. You're going to be able to still see them with the snow highways still being there. So if there is a bunch of snow and you know they already shedded and most of the sheds are going to be covered, I would just hold out on waiting for the snow to melt, but maybe go out there. If you haven't gone out already, that's when you go out there and you learn where they go, learn their trails, bedding and feeding areas, and mark them in your apps. That way, as soon as that snow melts, you can be the first one out there and know exactly where to go, and you're going to be sitting pretty. Once that snow melts, I guarantee you're going to be packing out some bone. Thirdly, there is already snow on the ground, and the deer begin to shed. This is a great time to get out there, even if you haven't been in the woods yet, because if the snow has fallen and there's like 5-6 inches of snow and it's just cold as hell out, and that snow lasts for like a month, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. All right. Generally, it doesn't last that long depending where you are in the country. But if the snow lasts for 2 to 3 weeks to a month, and I'm talking like it's just snow, just there, and it doesn't snow anymore, the snow is not really melting, and the deer are still going through their daily habits, and they shed on top of the snow. You're watching the deer herd, and you see that deer have started shedding, and most of the deer have started shedding. Okay, you go out there when the snow's on the ground and the deer shed on top of the snow. This is going to be a great time to go out there, especially if that snow sticks around for a little while, because you can go out there again and the imprint and their daily routines are still there, and all you really have to do is just walk them. You're walking the heaviest of the tracks. I would still mark them on your Hunt Stand app and your Onyx hunting app, but you can just go out there and not even look at your phone and just follow the heavy trails to their bedding and their feeding areas and all their side trails and all the areas in between. And all the sheds are going to be on top of the snow because it's been there a while. This is a great time to get out into the woods and actually pick up some bone and learn about their daily habits. You can do both at one time. So you just have to watch the snow and just utilize this information and just follow their heavy trails to their bedding and their feeding areas, and just look everywhere in between if that don't pan out. But just make sure that the deer have actually shed before you hit the woods. All right. If you're going out there for a scouting mission and you're just trying to look in the snow of finding their trails, bedding, and feeding area, obviously you're not going to be really shed hunting. You know that they're still holding. So just pop in there, see if they're still holding, and just make mental markers. If you see them still holding, make a mark on your hunting app. Say, okay, I last saw them holding here, and you know they hang out over there. Just make some marks on your apps and just walk around the woods and just utilize this actual information. But when I talk about make sure they actually shed, yes, if you want to go out there and just learn their habits, learn their daily routines of their trails, bedding, and feeding, you can go out there and just do that and not expend a lot of time with your head down looking for bone. You're just going out there, just examining their most heavily used trails, their most heavily used beds and feedings, and that's really all you're looking for. You're glassing up, checking out the deer herd, seeing what bucks are in the group, seeing what potential sheds there are to find, and then you just come back to that. Once you know that they definitely have shed and you have done the homework and all the hunting app pins are still on your phone, you just go back in there, pop in there, put your binos up, see if they're still holding. If they're not still holding, then you know exactly where to go. If maybe only one buck out of the group dropped and it's the biggest buck in the group, maybe you weigh your risks of pushing the other bucks out of the woods, out of the area, out of their daily routine just to find that giant buck shed. I have done that before where I know the giant has shed and I said, I don't care about these other sheds. I just want this big one. And I just went on the hunt for him. And again, I had all the information. All I did was go out there and just pound the woods and pound the snow and pound the area just for the fact of I want to find the big buck sheds. But this tactic of going out there in the snow, so the snow really it's just going to give you a layout and a map of their daily routines. Obviously, there's going to be some outliers off of the heavy trails of smaller trails. You just want to cover as much as you can and make as many pins as you can. All right, it's going to be tedious in the woods of making 100 pins in the woods, everything you come across, every trail split, every bed, every food source, every rub, and every trail crossing and every funnel. It's going to get tedious. But once you have your 100 pins over one snowstorm, you have the layout for the rest of the year, for the rest of shed season. All you have to do is go back in there and refer back to your hunting app. You may cover everything that you think you covered, and then you're like, oh crap, I missed that bedding area down low. And a great way to cover that up is by downloading like a workout app that tracks your walking motions. So a lot of people use this for like jogging and running to figure out exactly where they went, exactly how far they jogged, and exactly where. So you can download a workout app that tracks your running and your walking motions along with this Hunt Stand or Onyx Hunt app. And once you check your pins and you're walking through the woods, so really like what I do, I turn the workout app on so it tracks my motions, and then I go back to my hunting app and I'll start checking all the pins. And once I think I did everything, I'll refer back to the workout app and actually see what I covered, what I missed. And if I think I checked everything and I'm like, okay, I missed that whole section of woods over there, and then I go back to the Hunt Stand app and I'm like, okay, cool, because there's a trail split and a funnel over there with a side bedding area on that side hill. And then maybe that's where you go and you turn your whole day around from finding no sheds to finding the big buck sheds. So you just have to utilize absolutely everything you possibly can when trying to find these antlers, right? This hobby and this topic is just growing exponentially throughout every single year. More and more shed hunters are getting into the woods because they want to learn their deer's habits. They want to know what bucks made it through. Maybe they're just collectors and they're trying to make a knife handle out of it, or they're trying to make a chandelier, or just trying to just pile up a pile of bone in their shed or their living room, whatever it may be. More and more shed hunters are getting out there every single year, and you just have to be the best at it. And in Jersey, in my area, there was really only, there were a ton of people going out shed hunting, but I'd say 90% of the people that went out maybe only found 1 to 5 sheds through their entire shed season. And there was probably a small group of people, I'd probably say maybe 3 to 5 people that found the majority of the sheds. 3 to 5 people out of, let's say, 50 shed hunters, 3 to 5 people found all of the sheds, and everyone else either came up empty-handed and they were walking in other people's foot tracks, aka mine. And you just got to be the best at it and the first at it. Sometimes it's just being the first one in the woods once their sheds have fallen off, being there when that blood on the pedicle is still all bloody and fresh. Sometimes it's just about being there first. So that's really it, guys. I hope you guys utilize all of this little information and help yourself of learning snowfall. All right, learning the deer's habits through snowfall, and absolutely gather every little tip and tactic to try and be a better shed hunter this year. But that is really it, guys. If you guys have missed yesterday's podcast, again, we talk about the use of snow and helping you in the actual hunting aspect of learning deer's habits and then implementing that when the snow is not there, maybe the next season or the year after, but all through the hunting app as well. So this is kind of the same way, but just the shed hunting version of it. And if you guys are new to the Obviously Outdoorsmen podcast and these First Light talks, these talks come out every single morning between 6 and 8 a.m. on the audio platforms. And for them to come out on YouTube, normally it will come out a little bit later in the day as it takes longer to edit and render. But these talks come out every single morning, and they're meant for the outdoorsmen or just the people in general that are up early, getting after it, going to work, eating breakfast, working out, going to the deer stand, going to the fishing spot with the sun still under the horizon, and you're out getting there, and you can just listen to a quick First Light talk on the way to your stand or fishing spot or work or workout gym, whatever it may be. You can listen to it all before the sun comes up, and obviously you can listen to it after the sun comes up, but I like to have new content out for the people that are up and out early every single morning. But that is really it, guys. If you guys are new or if you just haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, please follow us, and please share this video. It will just really help us out. And if you guys do want a topic worth talked about, or if you just want a topic talked about, if this is on YouTube, you guys are listening, all right, just comment down below what topic that you guys want. And if you guys are listening on an audio platform, please just email me, obviously@outdoorsman@gmail.com, and I will just get to your topic right away as quick as possible. And that's really it, guys. Thank you for listening to today's First Light Talk number 31. Until tomorrow, FLT number 32. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow before the sun comes up. I am Mike, you're Obviously Outdoorsman. Thanks for listening. Peace.